But today I'm going to talk specifically about our Fire Adapted Communities program, and hopefully kind of give some examples of how we have used some of the programs that Charlie and Sharon have talked about, and also some services that we as a nonprofit can provide to this area as well. So I think Charlie kind of covered this a little bit, but when I'm thinking about our Fire Adapted Communities program, we're really trying to target with our programming the idea of having our communities become more fire adapted at many different scales, and kind of addressing the fire risks at all these scales in concert. So ranging from the individual structure or home all the way up to making our landscapes and forests more adapted and more resilient to wildfire. So I'm going to touch on these 4 programs that we have briefly, and we try to kind of cover, as I mentioned, cover all of these different scales of wildfire risk with our programming. So I'll walk through a couple of these. The first one I wanted to mention is Fire Adapted Community Trout Lake. This is a community-based group up in Trout Lake. It's volunteer-led, and I'm able to provide some kind of extra capacity and staffing to them, helping them acquire funding and lead their meetings and programming. But yeah, through Fire Adapted Community Trout Lake, we provide educational events like this, or movie screenings about wildfire, field visits, site tours to the community. Also provide monthly newsletters about various topics in wildfire mitigation. And then we also do kind of on the ground work and the planning that's required to do that. So Charlie mentioned the FireWise USA program. We're currently working on making Trout Lake a FireWise site. So we've recently been going through a community planning process to kind of gather feedback from people in Trout Lake and figure out what our priorities are, where our highest risks are, and plan for how we're going to mitigate those risks. And then finally, we can provide some assistance to people on the ground with wildfire risk reduction. And that can look like our annual chipping program in Trout Lake, which is happening in the next couple weeks, where we can bring our chippers around and help people dispose of slash. Charlie mentioned we purchased some of this 1/8" metal screening, which is a really useful way to reduce the risk of embers getting into your home and igniting your home. So we were able to buy some of that through the FireWise micro grant that Charlie mentioned, and just distribute that to homeowners for free. So just helping people make their houses safer. Provide home risk assessments through the Wildfire Ready Neighbors program. And then I mentioned already that kind of action planning process is actually a really useful way to identify where we need to go from here and what new programs that we might want to start. So I bring up Fire Adapted Community Trout Lake because I think this is a really cool model where it's completely community-led, volunteer-led, and I'm able to provide a little extra capacity, but it is really based on what the community needs and where their priorities are. So if any of you are interested in starting something like this in Klickitat, and I should also mention we have support from DNR, Sharon lives in Trout Lake and is on the committee, and also the fire district. So there's the community support there, representation. But yeah, if you or the fire district in Klickitat would be interested in doing something like this, I'm happy to provide assistance and staffing support if that would be helpful. Next major program I wanted to talk about, which has already been mentioned several times, is Mount Adams Resource Steward is also working on constructing fuel breaks throughout the western half of the county. We were awarded a fairly significant community wildfire defense grant end of last year, and that's a 5-year-long grant, essentially exclusively to put in shaded fuel breaks throughout the western half of the county. So I didn't want to put up too many details or maps yet because we're still kind of in the process of finalizing where those projects are going to take place and which landowners we're working with. But you will be seeing probably lots more of that work happening along priority roadsides in this area, including near the town of Klickitat. So feel free to talk to me more about that later, but just kind of a heads up that is happening, and we'd love if you have any input or ideas for where you want specific management objectives. And some of those objectives could be promoting forest health and resiliency. Both Sharon and Charlie mentioned we live in a fire-adapted landscape. Fire used to come through these kind of landscapes fairly frequently at low severity. And we've taken that out of the system for the past 100 years or so. So prescribed fire is putting that fire back into the landscape in a controlled way to kind of bring back that resiliency to the forest. Prescribed fire can also help promote wildlife habitat as well as rangeland health. And then particularly relevant tonight is the idea of using prescribed fire to reduce hazardous fuels. It's actually the most cost-effective and efficient way to reduce fuels in a lot of situations, and in turn protect homes and communities from more severe catastrophic wildfire. So Mount Adams Resource Stewards has been using prescribed fire for 8 years or so on our own property, and as well as assisting other land managers, like federal and state land managers with prescribed fire. But we also really wanted to help private landowners, small private landowners, and also non-governmental organizations use prescribed fire safely. So we just recently started the Mount Adams Prescribed Burn Association. This is a kind of grassroots effort, a coalition of local private landowners and nonprofits that are coming together to support one another in using prescribed fire. So through the Prescribed Burn Association, the PDA, we're able to host trainings and workshops. We actually have one coming up next week in this exact building, so we've got flyers for it over there if you're interested. We can also provide technical assistance to people throughout the entire prescribed fire process, from the planning piece to the implementation and monitoring. And also it's a platform for people to share equipment. It's a lot to ask of a private landowner to have an engine and hose and drip torches and all these tools, but if we can kind of share, and Mount Adams Resource Stewards has a fairly significant cache of equipment already, that just brings down that barrier for people to use prescribed fire safely. So that's the kind of prescribed fire program. Again, flyers, resources over there if you're interested. I finally wanted to give a quick plug to our stewardship crew. We employ an 11 or 12 person crew that does a variety of forest management, fuels reduction, prescribed fire, habitat restoration work throughout the area. They work on a contract basis, so if you're interested in using them to do work on your property, Lucas, his information is right there, or you can reach out to me, is the person to talk to, and we can get you in touch with them. As far as kind of next steps, if you're interested in anything I talked about tonight, again, we're having a prescribed fire workshop Thursday through Saturday next week, right here. That's completely free, and you can come for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, whatever you want. So we definitely recommend. That's just kind of an introductory workshop all about prescribed fire, everything you could want to know. You can also join the email list for the Prescribed Burn Association to be notified of upcoming trainings or just prescribed burns that we're doing, so that you can just come out and observe or participate on those burns. And then finally, like I said before, if you are interested in doing any kind of wildfire mitigation programming, community-led in Klickitat, I would be happy to help, similarly to how I'm doing in Trout Lake, so please just get in touch. Yeah, happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, help me thank our speakers.